So we start today by missing just about every single wildlife you could possibly miss. Believe it or not, I have missed like 10 deer, 3 boar, not to mention all sorts of birds and things that are in front of the truck. I have a cordial problem that has never really been a problem in the past. Way back when I had a whole bunch of GoPro cameras, and I could just keep them rolling on a regular basis. And through attrition and flooding them on scuba dives and losing one while kayaking, all that stuff. I'm down to essentially 2. One is permanently mounted to my filming rig for the kayak, and the other one is the one that's recording right now. And this being a GoPro session that I'm recording on, essentially I need to get more, because even though I have power banks and everything like that, it's just logistically it would be far easier to have more GoPros. So that is going to be in the pipeline. I simply don't want to be missing really cool shots like that, because one particularly disappointing one, there was a male deer followed by a female deer, followed by a boar, and followed by 2 little baby piglets, all like in the same, like right in front of the hood. I just sat there and waiting for them to but hey, is what it is. So today we're going to a spot. By the way, the spot to the left, that's where we kayaked last time. Unfortunately, I last weekend when I went out here, by the way, let me get my bearings first. So I completely locked out with the weather. I meant to go here this past weekend. That didn't formulate into anything. And then, if you watch my previous video, you know that I was. Oh, how about that? Finally, we got a deer. We got a deer. You know what? I've missed just about every other deer in this joint, but I'm not going to miss. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Just jump in, long tail and everything. Yeah, those guys are everywhere. So yeah, I was kind of stumbling through all this stuff. The weather front was rolling in. It looked very nasty, but nothing came of it, man. I was just furious. Like, it rained literally everywhere except for, like all of this. But as soon as I would get, to places to kayak, there would be like thunder and lightning, and it's just not exactly a good place to be. Okay. Okay. Here, let me show this to you guys. Yeah, that is where I need to go. It's easy, except for one thing. If you look in the mirror, I have a kayak behind me. So, typical off-roading is different. Alright, let's give it a try. once again, no signage. Do you go left? Do you go right? Let's go right. That is one steep hill. You know, journeys like this, when you off-road for 10 miles just to see this, are just totally worth it. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, kind of, sort of. This is a clear example. I mean, the ramps are obviously not suited for boat launching, but, you know, keep telling myself I'm gonna cut off that last piece over there. I just haven't quite figured out how to do it the easy way. So it's really easy to cut things, just not so easy to fix them back, if you know what I'm saying. So unfortunately, the audio for this trip has been lost irretrievably. That's probably the reason why so many people are moving away from GoPros. But here you could see how the wind is fairly strong, and if you play your cards right, you could actually use that to your advantage. I steer my rudder in such a way that the wind is actually pushing me along the shoreline on an angle, you know, giving me just a little bit more visibility. And all I have to do is just occasionally pedal with my, you know, mirage drive to essentially stay on course. I do it all the time. You know, the very unfortunate part about kayaking when it's windy like this, and if you pay attention on the left-hand side, just to see how strong the wind is blowing, you know, you could be in a very, very beautiful area, but the wind just totally ruins it for you. You know, being so light on top of the water, you're just being pushed like a cork. Not exactly my cup of tea. That being said, if you do find shelter from the wind, you could just see how being at exactly the same landscape just changes dramatically. The water is calm, you know, the vegetation looks beautiful. You start noticing birds and things like that. Just look at it. Look how flat it is. It's the same exact lake. No trickery. I personally would not advise you to do what I'm doing right now, unless you have a really, really stable kayak. Essentially, if you are in Florida, uh, there's alligators that like to, you know, camp out in all this vegetation. And so they have a tendency to not necessarily slither in the water, but just gallop into the water, typically diving underneath your kayak and everything like that. And if you're not prepared for something like this, certainly, you know, if your kayak isn't stable enough, you could very easily topple over. So Hobie is, you know, a special example of, you know, being almost impossible to turn over. Don't get me wrong, there have been people that have tried and succeed, but if you have a regular kayak, I would stay a little bit further away from the shoreline. As for the abundance of wildlife, you could actually have too much of too good, unfortunately keeping animals away. If you notice, with all the thicker vegetation, birds just don't really have a place to land on per se. So you want it to be a little bit more sort of spread out, if you want to call it that. Another aspect is, for a kayak, there's also a concept of too much, sort of like a sensory overload. If you look at all the vegetation on the left-hand side, it looks exactly identical. And while beautiful, it will get tiring after looking at exactly the same thing. So when you pick your kayaking spots, just make sure that it's actually worth driving the distance to. Florida is one remarkable place. In the span of about 5 minutes, you could go through so many variable changes in weather. And I recorded the time lapse just to kind of get you guys an idea. It clears up and then it clouds up and there's thunder in the back, and the clouds, like if you look off to the left in the camera, the skies are all darkening and everything. And then 20 minutes later, it's all blue skies again. The fact that Florida is so narrow as a state, everything just kind of blows through, and it makes it very difficult for you to really predict the weather here. After I installed the Bimini, I've mentioned that my kayak, now effectively has a sail. And man, what a sail it is! With all this wind that's blowing from all over the place, I've been blown around this lake like crazy, absolutely crazy. I meant to just go around the lake just like I normally do in all the other places, but I was zigging and zagging, and the second I would let off the gas, I'd be pushed somewhere. For a period of time, I was actually pushed up against a bank. So it was kind of challenging with that perspective. Alright, are you guys ready? Alright, let's go up the ramp. Obviously, camera doesn't do it justice. Holy crap, and there's ruts on the actual ramp. Alright, if you guys pay attention, on the right hand side of the vehicle, up ahead, there's the deer. It's probably the same one we saw last time. There's actually two in there. One is over by the tree, and one is up on the slope. So both of them are to the right. See them? Poking their heads out. Having a blast. And with any luck, they'll actually jump out in front of the truck. This would be about the only... Yeah, there they go. Oh, there's three. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful creatures. So I've actually lost count for the day. I think those are, I don't know, makes it up to 15 now that I've seen. And one thing I've noticed about them is, unlike deer in New Jersey, where I've spent a lot of years, these ones actually have a very, very, very long bushy tail. New Jersey and deer are all over the place. So, you know, if you live up north, you really don't get surprised by deer because they're much of a nuisance over there. But here in Florida, they're really far and few in between. And I guess they never had the reason to have a short tail. Nature is funny like that. Here they sort of look like gazelles. Hey, how about that? There's more deer. There's a deer up ahead on the straight across the road. He's gonna be on the left-hand side of the vehicle. There's the weather front. It actually missed me, believe it or not. But now we're gonna have to drive right through it. As a matter of fact, where I have to end up is right in the middle of that storm. Certainly on the way home. Well, at the very least, it will wash the truck. You know, today is one of those really rare days when the weather just works out for the best. Believe it or not, all of this nonsense over here have completely avoided me altogether. I've been privileged to, and let me pan the camera. The wind is blowing really like in all directions. That's why all of the clouds are migrating to and from. And so when I was kayaking, it was churning and churning and churning. It didn't know where it went. You know, off in the back I heard thunder and everything. And then thankfully it decided to go from there off, whoops, that way. And so most of the skies that I've seen, they were rather blue. Now on the way back, I felt this would be a good place to finish my journey. Way off in the background there's some really cool things. So let's zoom in. Got some trees. Look at that.